Everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about my experience with burnout because of family courts. So I won't go too much into that, but I will talk about the stress that I felt mainly because of the legal process and what it does. And this part I felt the last part of the three M's was really the thing. The second and third, so maladaptation, which is do you understand how you adapt to stress? Are you really reading your own body signs correctly? And also, there's the other bit which is mishandling, and mishandling is to do with you get lots and lots of information, mostly because of the internet, social media, websites, friends, videos, podcasts, free books, blah, 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 blah. And you can be overwhelmed with stuff. So, firstly, I was fortunate because I had an attorney, so they helped deal with a lot of that for me. Because yeah, I got an expert. I can just take a rest, let them deal with it. But prior to that, you do get lots and lots of information, and I found that I just had to narrow it down to specifically what I wanted to deal with, and keep in my mind that when people write things online, it's not because they're lying, but a lot of it can turn out to be untrue for you, especially with legislation, things to do with medicine, any complex, large topic. And I'll tell you why, because when I write it, it's usually written with the idea of a general perspective, a general view. And when you look at, there's always going to be specifics about you. And this is why a lot of them, you need to, you can read it, it can be useful, but also think that, hey, okay, maybe it won't work for me, or I'll just keep that as a note point. I'm not going to take it as entirely useful or true for me. And that's how you need to treat this information. I found that out because I found a good 80% of what I had read about going through family court legislation, how to deal with lawyers, courts, blah 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 blah. It wasn't true for me. All I can say is it wasn't true for me, and that's because obviously my case is my case. It's separate. So speaking about the burnout, now the burnout is when you do things for any court. Usually it's very 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 slow, and when you are stressed about, maybe it's to do with finances, it could be to do with injury, any kind of legislation. When someone says, yes, great, you will be heard by someone 2 months later, and that's considered fast. Okay, in the UK, this is fast. So then you have 2 months of stress, and I had 2 months of, no matter what was happening, it's in the back of my mind, and this is a worry that is going to drain my emotion, my concentration, and it's going to make me a little bit jumpy. And no matter how I might feel I'm in the zone at the time, I'm focused on something, I'm not 100% there, because processing in the back of my mind is, be ready. There might be a sudden demand that you have to produce some paperwork, or we need something. When you're around, I'm very, very cautious that I didn't say something out of place that might get me in trouble, or send a message or an email that I can't have an off day. I can't be a little bit annoyed or something because, oh yeah, it could be something that then is used against me or makes me look bad, and then it can screw my case up. So when you're going, so I had this at the back of my mind all the time, and on top of it, the topic at hand is extremely important to me. So I got this enormous emotional investment. So what was happening? Well, for that period of time, 5 hours sleep would be good for me. I would have to sleep for a while, wake up in the middle of the night, go have, I don't know, hot chocolate, or eat something, and play a game or something for a while, go back and then go to sleep. And when you're doing 12-hour shifts as your job, which was my work at the time, it's really, really difficult. So what was I doing in my lunch breaks? I was taking naps. But as we know, napping and quality sleep for the recommended at least 7 to 8 hours, it, it's never going to compare. So it was draining me, obviously physically. It was hitting my mood because I was sleeping bad. Plus, this worry isn't going away, and then there was obviously the finances. So I was looking at my pocket, like, what if I have to suddenly produce some paperwork, if I have to pay for extra hours for my lawyer, blah blah blah. So I'm really, really intensely worried, and hit with this dilemma that used to panic the hell out of me. That what if something happens? I need my lawyer, but I can't actually afford to pay them for that hour for their time. So, and you also think about, I was also thinking about like the aftermath. After I've gone through all this stuff, this may not be the first time I have to go in front of the judge. This could drag on, and it did. It dragged on for years, and but the first part was the major crux, the major point for me that I want to talk, because that's when I had sleeping trouble. I was feeling stressed about how can I make a more money. I'm trying to balance my life where I don't want to spend less time or not be fresh enough to deal with something that I might need to respond to, and I don't want to be slightly off or slightly cranky at the wrong time and mess things up. There's that, and then in the back is obviously my emotion. I'm worried, and I said used to get sometimes anxiety attacks, say first thing in the morning, which funny enough I found it really good because I used to walk to work and I'd spend an hour on this long slow walk. It'd be nice and frosty in the morning, and I found it just gave me time to slowly process everything, and I'd go through all these conversations in my mind, kind of talking to myself. But it would allow me to just release all that tension and negative energy with nobody around me. No one was walking around at, I think, 6 a.m. I used to leave. So when I was going through my mind and processing these things and thinking about other things and some music and letting myself have a good hour to ease into the day, it was very, very useful for me. But no matter what, the stress is there. And I had a stressful job. So my stressful job was that I was a learning support worker for autistic people. So on top of it, I had my work stress, which was noise. Sometimes there would be an attack, and we had to get involved in restraining. There was just a general concern that you had to have your gloves on and stuff because of physically they can be very messy. They have very unhygienic habits, and so it was like a real onslaught into my mental resources. And my real way around it was I made sure I had a good focal point. My gravity was that I am not going to give in, and it means so much to me that the fight would be worth it. And I made a very clear idea of like the perfect result, not so good result, and what would be a bad result. And a bad result wasn't going to be so bad. And if it was, I'm going to still fight it through. And I was determined. And we keep hearing about persistence. We've heard about grit, where you just stay persistent and you endure for a long time. And that was really how I got through it. But one of the main things I did was I made sure that I filtered out most of the other rubbish. I didn't keep going on social media. To be honest, I actually cut off social media um, for that period of time because I didn't need all that junk in my mind. And I was like a lot of people, I only use social media for fun, catching up with friends. I was like, if I want to talk to friends, I'll phone them, I'll talk to them. I don't need to have all this junk information thrown at me. So that was a nice thing to keep my head clear. And I would say that when you're in a high stress situation like this, where it can have real consequences if you screw this up, and you must keep your headspace, head energy, emotional energy free, is make sure you clear out and filter out all the junk and you put those barriers up. So that was it. And what happened at the end? What happened at the end when I got my first hearing? That's just waiting to go to court for a hearing. How relieved I was that, and after I went past the first hearing, and the stress came off because it was very favourable for me. I literally felt the pressure in my brain, the blood pressure in my brain, go from here and slowly come down, and I could actually feel this thing come down. And of course, we're talking about months and months of worry and pressure, and I wanted to shut down and sleep right there and then. And I had to really fight because I was in this autism home, which is not the safest place to start going to sleep. So I had to really make this effort, exhausting effort, to fight my want to go to sleep. And this was purely brain chemistry, so it indicates you just how much pressure was there. So that's my story about burnout. So if you're worried, if you think that I haven't experienced it, I've really experienced how hard burnout can be, and that's why I decided to make this site, and I made the effort to discover, research, and then discover the three M's. So I hope this is useful for you. And yes, I'm not a sleek salesman or anything. I'm just like you. I've been through it multiple times. And there's no guarantee I won't go through it again in the future. So it's also useful for me, and I have been there. So I'm definitely with you. Thank you.